The first time DRA Ellingsworth came pounding on my door. She had that clipboard clutched tight like it was some kind of badge. "Mr. Mason Trouble," she said, her eyes squinting at me like she was trying to squash a mosquito with her mind. "We need to talk about your barn." It was 7 in the morning, and my coffee wasn't even half gone. My barn bright red, not too big, was tucked behind the house, just where I wanted it. My pride and joy. Built it myself last spring. All reclaimed wood, level by hand. Put solar panels up top because I was tired of paying extra for everything. Inside, a couple of old bikes, a battered tractor, 3 rescued chickens. "What about it?" I asked, stepping onto the porch in my work boots. She didn't answer, just glared at the barn from my driveway like it had insulted her mother. Then she flipped her clipboard open. "It violates HOA code. You didn't submit a request for structure modification. And it's unsightly. Unsightly like I'd painted it purple with polka dots. The thing looked good enough for the cover of Homesteading Monthly." I told her straight. I checked with the county before I built it. Got every sign-off. It's legal, zoned, and built to spec. She just sniffed. "Well, it doesn't meet our standards." I crossed my arms. "It's on my land, outside your jurisdiction." Her eyes narrowed. "Our jurisdiction covers the whole subdivision, including your lot. You signed a covenant." But see, I hadn't. My place sat right at the edge, grandfathered in, never signed anything. DRA had been trying to rope me in for years. "Not interested," I said, and turned to head back inside. That should have been the end of it. Wasn't. Next morning, there's a neon orange violation notice taped to the barn. Looked official HOA logo. Legalese. But something fell off. They quoted some vague architectural compliance clause. Demanded I tear the barn down in 10 days or get hit with fines. I called up Jerry, the county inspector who'd signed off on my plans. "She's bluffing," he said, flipping through his folder. "You're totally in the clear. Barn's legal. She's got zero authority." I asked if he'd put that in writing. 2 days later, I had a notarized letter stamped and signed. Made 5 copies. Taped them all over the barn. And that's when it got weird. The next morning, someone had spray-painted code violation in huge white letters across the side. Security camera caught it grainy, but clear as day. There's DRA. Hoodie up, flashlight, and paint can in hand. I put the footage on a flash drive and marched to the sheriff's office. The deputy watched it twice. "Let me guess," he said. "HOA president? Acting president." I told him. "Nobody votes." She just sort of took over. He shook his head. "Typical. Vandalism's a chargeable offense. We'll look into it." But of course, DRA wasn't done. Next, a certified letter slid under my door in a manila envelope. No postage, no return address, just a folded letter with the same HOA logo. Not a fine, this to me is cease and desist. Accuse me of interfering with HOA business and spreading defamatory information. Meaning the video I gave the sheriff. Reporting vandalism was now harassment. I called my cousin Colleen, a real estate lawyer in Charleston. She owed me for fixing her deck. "They're bluffing," she said, scrolling through the letter. "You're not under their jurisdiction. Reporting crime isn't defamation. Besides, this letter's got no law firm. No signature. Nothing." She poked around and found out the HOA had just filed for a zoning variance trying to incorporate my street into their territory. That explained DRA's sudden push-if she succeeded. She'd have control over property taxes, reviews, liens, and my barn was just the start. I went down to the county clerk's office and got a copy of the petition. It claimed unanimous support from everyone on my street, including my signature. Problem is, I never signed a thing and my name was there. Neat cursive, but I write in block letters. Turns out, I wasn't alone. I walked up and down the block, and 3 neighbors missed her. Kim, Mrs. Langston, Marcus, and Tasha showed me their names on the petition. All forged. "This is fraud," Marcus said. Mrs. Langston just shook her head. I wouldn't mind being part of the HOA if they asked, but they didn't. By the end of the week, I had notarized statements from 6 neighbors. I filed a formal objection with the commission and then called the local news. Channel 9's Ellie came out with a cameraman. I showed her the evidence video, petition, the inspector's letter. That night, the segment aired. Homeowners accuse local HOA of forgery and harassment. The sheriff opened an investigation. DRA was called in for questioning, and the commission froze the HOA's request. But DRA, stubborn as ever, sent 2 volunteers to my lawn with clipboards and a plastic badge. They tried to photograph the barn. I stepped outside. Phone recording. "You're trespassing." I said, "There's no violation. This isn't your property." They hesitated, then left. I sent the video to the sheriff, added it to my growing folder of HOA escalation evidence. 2 days later, a notice went up. All HOA activities suspended. Pending investigation. Neighbors started to talk. Helen, the retired teacher, told me DRA once threatened her over a rose trellis. Rob, the mechanic, said DRA tried to block his truck from his own driveway. Everyone had a story, and apparently, my barn was the match that set it all off. The sheriff's office gathered enough to issue a subpoena for DRA charges of forgery, vandalism, filing false documents. The Planning Commission denied the HOA's request, referred everything to the state attorney. Turns out, what DRA did wasn't just shoddy, it was a felony. The whole empire she built on threats and forged signatures started to crumble. Then a deputy showed up. "We've got a warrant to search the Ridge View HOA office," he said. One of the board members came forward. "There's a storage unit full of altered petitions, falsified docs, surveillance logs. Looks like they've been keeping tabs on the neighborhood for years." Sure enough, officers hauled out boxes and hard drives, evidence tape everywhere. I sat across from Detective Ellis later that day. She flipped through a binder 17 files, one for each household. Notes on when I mowed my lawn, when I parked my truck, surveillance logs, photos from cameras hidden in fake birdhouse tree on my street alone. Charges started piling up. Unauthorized surveillance, forgery, wire fraud, embezzlement. The DA was building a conspiracy case. The news spread. The HOA's finances were frozen. All enforcement suspended. At the emergency community meeting, Detective Ellis presented everything: slides of the fake petitions, camera feeds, phony legal letters. By the end of the night, residents voted to dissolve the Ridge View HOA. Over 80% signed the petition to end it. For weeks later, all the HOA signs were gone. Cynthia Morgan from the Housing Board handed me the audit results. DRA had laundered more than $27,000 in dues into community enhancement accounts, shell companies, surveillance gear, fake signs, all of it traced back to her. The DA filed federal charges. Residents would get half their money back through insurance. The rest depended on asset recovery. Rob threw a bonfire party behind his Garagino more dues. Just do. Folks brought food, played music, swapped stories. Even Officer Griggs came by, off duty, to thank me for not folding. We found a backup drive in DRA's attic. She practiced the forgeries at a spreadsheet of who'd notice. Who wouldn't? She built a system. He clapped my shoulder. "You set it all in motion. Don't forget that." A week later, the county clerk confirmed my property couldn't be annexed into any HOA without unanimous consent. I even got a letter from the Attorney General's Officia Community Advocacy citation. Marcus and Tasha's chicken coop was almost done. They named their first hen Drash, strutted around like she owned the yard. But the others didn't put up with her. By the time summer hit, the neighborhood felt like a community for the first time. People borrowed tools, talked solar panels, Dropped off honey and veggies nobody asked about code or jurisdiction. And that barn, still bright red in the sun, stood for something more than reclaimed wood. It stood for the day folks stopped being afraid and started acting like neighbors again.